We're back, baby. It's the charity straw. Pitch your free throws because they are free. Joshua Fisher, Alexander, Tossing the Rock, Desopoulos, DJ, Nikki, Snacks, Kreider, Daily Stripe.
Wow.
February 2nd, 2023.
Back on the uncomfortable side of the couch.
I'm sorry, dude. We'll rotate.
Dude, I have back problems.
Do you want the back pillow over here? I have back. I think we all have back problems. Mine are not great.
You guys can have a competition over your back problems.
Thank you. We'll do
He's
it
holistic.
We'll do it off camera. Look, Brady's my
Speaking of back problems,
guy. I don't think he has back problems. He's probably only 40-something-year-old, playing sports without back problems. Brady retires yesterday. He's my favorite athlete, and I definitely, want to give my 2 cents on what he's meant to me because I've in the car ride over to work and everything. I've had a long time to think about it. But I would love to hear from you guys because I've after living with you and being boys, pretty much not in high school, but since then.
Yeah.
You rock TB12 gear. He's played your Chargers a number of times, and so I'm curious on your opinion. Yeah, I'd just love to hear your guys.
You rock TB12 gear.
He does. He loves TB12 gear.
I used to have
a bit.
I don't know where that shirt went. I really liked that shirt.
You loved that shirt.
It was super comfortable, and now I'm thinking about, did someone steal it from me? Did someone take it?
George Saya.
Probably, yeah, our former roommate.
Big sneaky.
Big sneaky.
Big sneaky.
Give me your take, though, on Brady, just in general, his career, but how you feel about him.
I mean, I don't really know what's left to be said at this point. I think we're all in agreement that he's the greatest quarterback of all time, probably the greatest football player of all time. Overcame, crazy odds of being a 6th-round draft pick. Won as many Super Bowls as you can really get. I mean, I don't think everyone's ever going to be able to catch him at any position. So it's interesting to see what you think someone's going to catch him.
He wanted to. Come on.
No, but I do think that the trajectory, we don't need to talk about Patrick Mahomes, but if he wins this second Super Bowl for him,
4 years.
He's in a really good position to not beat Tom Brady because I think that is just so much circumstantially has to happen.
Right.
But to really get a lot of rings and accumulate almost 5, and at that point, the GOAT discussion I think will be in question, even though Tom will end up with 7.
There's a lot of football to be played though.
So much.
But yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't really know what's left to be said besides it was a really nice retirement video that he put out on social media. He called himself out for blowing it his first time. He goes, you really only get one opportunity to write a big, long paragraph.
He's kind of funny.
No, it was funny. It was funny. It looked like it was from the heart. So I respect that. But I think this is for real.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of, after all is said and done now, I actually think that I kind of liked how it played out because it made me feel like this moment, the moment on the beach where he is just talking to the camera and it's windy, was even more real than what we got last year, which was more of like the performative saying goodbye, the long-winded message to football, to the Bucs, where it was like kind of open-ended. You're definitely retiring from the Bucs, but are you retiring from football? And then you remember everyone was like, oh, it's because he's going to another team, et cetera. He ends up running it back with the Bucs, of course. I also like it just because the Cowboys absolutely trounced them in his last game as a football player. But no, I think his last and final words in retiring was really beautiful. It was really special, and it was like I never liked rooting for him. I always rooted against him.
I did a couple times. I found myself rooting for him like later in life when he was really going for like those last couple of championships.
When he's driving against the Falcons and there's all of a sudden a shot where this team could come back from 28-3, you're rooting for him. For me, as like I mean, come on, you want Matt Ryan and the Falcons to win one?
My dad's from Atlanta. Yes, I did.
True. Objectively,
your boys are from Atlanta.
Yeah,
I'm a Patriots fan. Objectively, I think the one that's pretty interesting to me also was the Seahawks one. People look at the Malcolm Butler interception when they don't run it with Marshawn Lynch, but they don't think of the catch to get there. There's a huge gain of catch, and it's like Tom Brady. You see him on the bench, he's like, oh my God, not again, not like another Mario Manningham type, David Tyree type situation where he's sitting there going these catches, these big game catches at the end of the game to like, slip through my fingers where I'm sitting on the bench and I can't do anything. It's really remarkable, to look all the crazy points, the Edelman catch, so many insane moments, good and bad, in Tom's career. And that's like a beauty. I mean, the whole thing has been, the NFL has been scripted this week, right? But if you look at it from like a movie standpoint and not 80 for Brady, which I guess
Well, let's say coincidence that comes out in a day.
Just literally the flip the page on his next act. He went through so many roles, in his career. He was the underdog, the 199. He was the villainous, winner. The guy people love to root against, the Patriots, the evil empire, like, kind of mirroring like what the Yankees were in the 90s. Then it became the comeback kid, like versus the Falcons. Then it became his quest to be viewed as the standalone GOAT, the voyager into the unknown, the guy who ended on a perfect storybook ending, but then decided to come back and then make it not perfect, which makes it almost like really akin to real life. Like that's what it was so, his ending was so human. Last year, it was almost so above football. This year, it was kind of like just one of the guys. Peyton's ending, Lawrence Taylor on a podcast, on Behind the Mask, it always has stuck with me. His quote was, "I'm bigger than the Giants, I'm bigger than football. I'm the best. Like, all right, good luck without me after I retire." And he's like, the craziest thing was there was a game next Sunday. Like, it always goes on. It's going to go on. We talk about Patrick Mahomes. Will he get to the number Brady does? I don't know, because there was times when Brady was undefeated and he still lost. Like, to get to, like, 2 is crazy. Like, Rodgers is still stuck at 1. Rivers, you're a fan of Rivers, Nick. He's all-time. He never got any. Ryan, we brought up. Well, we don't know what will happen with Dak, but Romo was a great quarterback, never got one. To get to 2 is crazy. So we'll see what Mahomes, can do.
5 AFC championships in a row.
He's amazing. He still only has 1.
That's what. Right.
It's hard it is.
It's hard it is.
You have to do that to be considered an all-time great, and that's what Brady was able to do and execute. Not only to get to the AFC Championship, but then to win that and to win 7 Super Bowls. I mean, it's incredible.
In the 2000s, there's only 4 quarterbacks that have won multiple Super Bowls. Brady, both Mannings, and Roethlisberger.
Big Ben, yeah.
Is that it, right?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, we talk about it basketball a lot, but if you go to a football stance, you can't win with this guy. How many guys can you really win with? Like, not that, like a few guys. Is it consistent? Exactly, consistently, not that many. I'm really starting to feel it, and it's no knock against Mac. And I don't know, Mahomes has Andy Reid, but how long? Because I think it's going to go to Bieniemy. I think Bieniemy will get the job. I think he's not going to take the Arizona job. That job stinks. He's going to wait till Andy Reid retires. If Andy Reid wins this, he could go off into the sunset. It could be Eric's job, and he could ride off with Pat Mahomes, and then we'll see what happens. But yes, Brady got the last laugh on Bill winning in Tampa Bay. But Bill's defenses were massive parts of Brady. We talk about it all the time. Yeah. Massive parts of the success.
Brady still has every record in the book, though.
He's amazing. He's the best. They were a great pairing. There's so many things that go into it. But I'm really starting to feel the effects of Tom Brady's greatness. And again, no knock against Mac. The jury's still out on him. But it's a really empty hole in your fanhood. Like, losing somebody like that and now feeling the real effects a few years later.
I feel really bad for you.
I don't feel bad for me, but I feel like it really has set in over the past couple seasons, and now that it's all said and done with Tom, and like the 2% milk of like, oh, he's coming back to the Patriots, and that's kaput.
It's over.
Like it. You'll never get that. I'll never experience this again.
Massive deal waiting for him at Fox Sports. I'll tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'd be lucky to get one with Tatum and Brown for the Celtics. Realistically,
yeah.
What do you guys think about his deal? Which, like you said, it's massive, huge price tag, and he could end up making a lot of money if he saw out that entire deal, right? And the extent of it with the years and everything. How long do we really think he's going to do that for?
I mean, how long? How's Aikman? Like,
why not? I mean, I don't see him getting into coaching. I don't think that's going to be a thing.
It's more so my curiosity of like, what else does Tom Brady want to do?
Yeah. Well, I think for that, like if you're in the broadcast booth, like you're really only your job is only during the season, right?
Sure.
Like as an NFL player, like there's no off season. You got to continue to train. You got to continue like check the playbook, work out. But with broadcasting, like you go to your game for Fox once a week. They're not. It's not like he's calling Major League Baseball games or NBA games. Like once a week, he's got a game, and that's it. He gets to spend time with his family. I mean, That's what?
do other projects.
18 games in a regular season, right? Just out of 18 weeks out of the year, give or take the playoffs. Like, he's fine. And I think he's probably going to end up, settling down in a place where he can also get into production. I mean, he's got his production company. Like, this is another angle.
I mean, he's got TB12.
Yep.
Right?
He's had all this, though. And
I know, but I think he can even, like, don't you believe that the Brady, like, apparel brand could become
like Jordan?
the biggest in the United States from a sports apparel athleisure type.
I don't think it would get to that level just because of the fact that, like, I think there's a certain culture that basketball has that football will never have, where, like, you can wear Jordan's basketball shoes that he wore on the court outside, just, rocking it.
yeah,
I could go to dinner with those on.
Yeah.
I don't know if it could be the biggest. I mean, for an individual, maybe. I don't know who else is out there. It's not like, I mean, the basketball players have sneakers.
Yeah.
It's not as if LeBron has his own real clothing, like the LJ or the King James clothing. It's like TB12 has the clothing line, the apparel line.
And Jordan also has, like, the backing of Nike as well. Like, TB12 is just TB12.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, until players start wearing the gear, like, on the field.
Yeah.
Then
I'm also interested just, like, in the whole, like, health standpoint of things, right? Like, his work that he's done on himself with Alex Guerrero for such a long time, like,
AJ
working on physical health stuff with athletes and, like, where that can kind of go. I'm just interested to see, and I feel like he's the type of guy, R.I.P. Kobe, but, like, they both have such a big and voracious appetite to do things, to be the masters of their craft, like, to make an impact.
Right.
They care about legacy. Like, I just feel like he doesn't seem like the type of guy to me that's just going to sit in a booth
and half-ass things.
Just sit in a booth for 25 years and just do that.
The whole game's changed. It's not as if it's a Clyde Frazier who calls Nick games. It's not as if it's an Aikman who I brought up, where it wasn't as open-ended for not just athletes, for anybody to be doing multiple things.
Right.
Think about us, even as people, like what we do. We host, we produce, we do a bunch of stuff where we could do a bevy of different jobs, and we are doing it all the time. And a lot of times people think it's like one-track minded, and I don't think he'll be in the booth because he hasn't been his whole time. I actually heard CJ McCollum really talking about how diverse his life is, with what he is interested in, with what he does outside of playing basketball, like, hosting his own show, all his financial diversity. For these guys, it's not as one-track minded. So I agree with you. I don't think he'll be in the booth solely. I think that'll be just a part of one of the things he does.
Has Brady been on SNL? Has he hosted SNL?
Right? He's got to have.
I think. Maybe early 2000s.
I think when you're talking about Kobe, like, it's that Mamba mentality. Brady also has his own mentality as well, right?
Yeah.
And he's gonna put that into everything he does, not just broadcasting, not just playing football. He's gonna go out and try to dominate in something else out there. And honestly, the most likely scenario is production, right, or something to do with the TB12 brand. So I don't think that this is the end of seeing Tom Brady in the spotlight. Obviously, I think he's gonna be at the forefront of sports for a very long time. Switching gears really quickly, I don't know if you want to keep on talking about your man's over here, but
I'm good. Done.
Two big coaching hires.
I couldn't see it.
Okay.
Two really big coaching hires. Domino effect. Sean Payton gets hired by the Broncos. DeMeco Ryans gets hired by the Texans. Broncos wanted DeMeco Ryans initially. That was his guy, or that was their guy. He turned it down. Wanted to go to Houston, which I think is the better move for him. Right. Get more draft capital, kind of have like your entire organization to build. You don't have to answer to Russell Wilson, who has his own office. Sean Payton goes to Denver, and Denver has to give up their first-round pick this year and their second-round pick next year to New Orleans for Sean Payton, and then their third-round pick. So, like, a lot of moving parts here, but basically Denver's given up picks, and they already really didn't have draft capital to begin with because they got Russell Wilson. Some people are saying this makes them a playoff team. I don't see it. I don't think this is a really good opportunity for Sean Payton. I think he could have been, gone elsewhere. But happy for DeMeco. I think he much deserved that job. He really took over that 49ers defense and just dominated and proved that he's a top-level defensive coordinator. I really hope it works out for him.
Yeah, agreed on every front. We'll start with the Broncos job. To me, I get Sean Payton wanted to get back into coaching. He himself is the legend. He's like got the teacher's tenure. He's got the pedigree of being Sean Payton. When you're rebuilding a team, which don't get it twisted, the Denver Broncos stunk last year and needed to rebuild in some capacity, whether it was front office, coaching staff. They fired their head coach during his first season, really. So it was a complete disaster by all accounts and purposes for Denver. When you're rebuilding, you need draft capital and you need money. Right now, the Broncos have neither. So already off to a bad start. And let's be honest, they have pieces. If he can resurrect Russell Wilson, great. Then we're sitting here going, okay, their offense is good.
Yep.
Patrick Surtain is a top one, maybe cornerback in the league. He could be the best corner in the league on any given Sunday.
Good receiving core.
Their team is solid, but if you're talking about a playoff team, and this is what I was saying with the Raiders when they got Devontae Adams, you have to be better than the Chiefs. You have to be better than the Chargers, who maybe they looked at their available coaches and went, okay, the only guy we'll really want is Sean Payton. But I'd rather run it with a new offensive coordinator in Staley, who's gotten us to the playoffs and, gotten us to the second round of the playoffs.
And not give up a pick.
He's gotten us to the playoffs, and you don't have to give up a pick, which they still need. They're not better than the Chargers still. So they're still the third best team to me until we have to see what they do in free agency, how contracts can be restructured, because I think Russ should restructure his, and what they can do, if anything, in the draft. Do they trade Judy? Do they make moves and try to get some draft capital back? But the Denver situation, to me, is very shaky. And the DeMeco going to Houston, I'm not saying it's a great job because they fired back-to-back guys after their first season. They have the draft capital. They could take a quarterback.
They've got the number 2 pick, and they have the number
12
pick or something.
They should take 2 defensive players. I would probably trade back from the number 2.
And if you're not great next year, you're not going to get fired after one season. They know they're in rebuild mode. If you're not great next year, you can take Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I 100%.
I tend to. I mean, I agree. I think DeMeco is in a good position. I think that City I think he's a good fit, and he
played there.
He played there. He's a tough dude. Like, if he can bring that toughness from the defense when they were at their best. I know they had Deshaun Watson, and he was playing football much better than he did this past year for the Browns, but their defense was the identity of that team.
For a while. I mean, for a while.
J.J. Watt.
I was about to say, he was in that. DeMeco played on that team with J.J. Watt, Brian Cushing, Glover Quinn.
Williams.
Jonathan Joseph. Like, they had a really solid.
Who was the linebacker that was just a
Cushing.
beast? No, not
They've had
Cushing.
Merciless.
Whitney
Merciless.
Merciless to the Illinois.
Yeah.
Beyondrick McKinney. Like, they've had Jadeveon Clowney. Like,
yeah.
It's a franchise where they've had really good defensive. Williams, obviously, again, like I said.
And you have Derek Stingley, who you drafted last year.
Who's a stud. You have Jalen Petrie at Baylor, who at least can turn the ball over. Like,
you're going to get your pick of either Will Anderson or Jalen Carter if you want them.
In my mind, what I would do.
And then you could sit and wait and say, okay, if I'm at 12 and like Levis or Richardson's still available, sure, let's give it a shot.
Yeah. I don't know if Levis will be there.
Honestly, I don't know if either of those guys.
I don't know if either of those guys will be there.
So we're thinking 4 quarterbacks get taken in the top 10 this year? Because I don't think this is that talented of a class.
But the dude, I'm with you. But people they go, okay, the most expensive position is quarterback.
Yeah.
Let's take a flyer on one of these guys. If he is good, he's a first-round pick. We could keep him for a 5th year, and we'll take a flyer on him, and then we'll try to put pieces around him and see what we can do. I'm with you. After Young and Stroud, I'm not down to hang my hat on one of these guys, especially if I'm in a position to get a Jalen Carter or a Will Anderson Jr. So, if the Bears don't trade their pick, I could be interested in trading with the Colts if I'm the Texans.
Which it came out today that they are going to look to shop that pick.
That pick's gone.
The Bears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Bears are going to move that pick. All right. Best case scenario for Houston. Best case scenario. They don't like the Colts. I would be shocked. It's really going to move. They're either going to flop with Houston, and Houston goes to 1. The Bears could then go to 4 and still get Carter, Anderson Jr., right, unless the Texans take one. Or they can go, all right, we're going to balk on one of these 2 defensive players, get as much as we can from the Falcons, the Panthers, the Commanders, one of these teams that are kind of later on in the draft, which is – it's crazy to say, and we've had people say Carter and Anderson are day one. They could be Pro Bowlers day one. You don't know. I'd rather get as many draft picks and fleece as many teams, fleece somebody as much as possible, and trust my front office to make something happen. And then if you're the Texans, if the Bears move back far enough, you could kind of dangle the carrot in front of the Colts, be like, don't lose out on your guy because the Cardinals will move too.
Yep.
And then you're moving back, getting picks, and still getting Will Anderson Jr. or Jalen Carter.
I want to say, though, talking about the Sean Payton hire and this Broncos team, I think unfairly you said you have to be better than the Chiefs. Well, the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl, so no one's better than them right now.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
but one of the teams you have to be
What do
better
you mean
than.
you have to be better than? You have to be better than the team that's in the Super Bowl?
All right,
That's like,
fine, but you have to be better than the Chargers.
do you though? That's my question is, do you have to be better than the Chargers? Because you look at the AFC South, right? The Colts are picking in the top 5.
Stink.
Yep. The Jags
Playoffs.
should win that division.
Fine.
The Titans in a pretty bad position. Same thing with the Texans, right? Then you go to the AFC North. What if Lamar Jackson is no longer wearing the Ravens black and purple next year?
Fine.
The Browns were not good.
Okay.
The Bengals should. I think we'd say they'll win
Yep.
the division next year, or at least like they'll be
Pittsburgh,
they'll be
500.
projected
Tomlin
to.
keeps doing it.
Tomlin, yeah, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, like, they have moves to make. They have to get a lot better too.
As it stands right now, are you more confident in the Steelers or the Broncos making the playoffs?
Steelers.
The Steelers, but we just watched a head coach get fired in his first season. Like, this guy was the conductor of the train, and he derailed the train within like 10 feet
Fine.
of leaving the station.
I just don't
Like,
think it's just that, though. It's like there's a lot of problems just within the organization in general.
You have to
Like,
play
Well,
the
how about the
Chargers
fact
and
that they
Chiefs
were in-
twice.
a team that not a lot of people talked about, were very unhealthy this season. They lost their star running back in the second week of the season. This guy, if he's healthy, like, is projected to be one of the best playmaking running backs in the NFL. Like,
Sure.
we have to see him come back. Sean Payton is an offensive-minded guy. Like, he should be able to enact things out of Russell Wilson that we didn't get to see this past year. And a change of scenery for Russell Wilson, who played his entire career with Pete Carroll, who is an excellent head coach. And I think we kind of took that for granted. Not to say that Russell Wilson's not talented and he can't do things on his own, but
It's an adjustment period.
there's an adjustment period. Like, I'm just, and
Like
he's
Dolphins.
he's not an old guy. Yeah, and then the AFC East, you'd expect the Bills to win next year. Let's see like what's going on with Tua and his
He's
concussions,
back.
of course.
If he's back,
Jets were
They
not bad.
they should be the second best team in that division. I
What if
think.
the
Jets weren't bad.
and what if they get Rodgers?
I'm just saying, like, I don't think it's out of the question for them to make the playoffs as the third team in this division. And it's not like the Chargers won 12 games this season.
They won 11.
They did win 11.
Look, I could be here in a year and be like, okay, the Broncos are way better than I thought. I don't know.
I know they gave up draft capital, but like, this is a coach who won a Super Bowl, and like, we don't feel the same way about him that we do about the Cowboys' Mike McCarthy, right?
No,
like,
I love Sean Payton. He's a great coach. I just got to see it because I'm all of a sudden I really think. But where did their former
look,
head
DeMeco Ryans has never been a head coach before.
I want to say that this isn't a bad move for Denver, in my opinion. It's a bad move for Sean Payton because Denver's going out and getting the best guy possible they can get. They're like, okay, whatever. No more first-year head coach. Like, let's go out and get the proven winner, Sean Payton, the guy who wants to coach here.
Yeah.
But for him, this is going to be a very uphill battle. Just no draft capital, like you said, no money. So, like, what you're doing with your roster, you got to get creative. You got to, like, work with what you got, honestly. And, like, it's not the worst roster in the league. Like, they have a lot of talent, as we're saying.
better than the Raiders?
Yeah. I mean, they don't have a quarterback right now.
Yeah, I do.
a team who played pretty darn well on defense this past year, and their offense was abysmal. So I think their defense did not get enough credit because they actually were in a decent amount of games.
Defense is good.
Yeah, so they have good defense. And if you bring Sean Payton in, and he can turn things around offensively with offensive personnel who we kind of like.
Yep.
They're, to me, right now, the third best team in their division, and it's just not it's a very uphill battle.
They've made a lot of bad trades.
It's a major uphill battle when you're the third best team in your division. And I'm looking at the Nathaniel Hackett, their former head coach. He's on the Jets now. He's the offensive coordinator. And say what you will about him as a head coach.
Great offensive coordinator.
He was
excellent in
hot dog
Green Bay.
water, and he was excellent in Green Bay with Rodgers, who won back-to-back MVPs. Rodgers, in my mind, and you talk about a group of guys I love. If everyone's healthy and for gangrene, I love Breece Hall more than I like Javonte Williams. I like Garrett Wilson as much, if not more, than I like anybody in Denver.
Well, I like Breece Hall too, but we only saw him play like 6 games.
Yeah,
We've
he's also
seen
gotta
more
come back from
Javonte-
an injury too.
Yeah, we've seen
They
more.
both do.
In the pros.
Yeah, I think the saying outright that Breece Hall is like, I'm not saying that he's not going to be better than Javonte
Okay.
Williams, but
At full health, I like Breece Hall.
okay. I think that's like you can't really say that yet.
Okay. We'll see.
I don't know, Nick. What do you think? You think there's real grounds to say that at this point?
I think too small of a sample size.
Okay.
And they're
I'll
both
back
they
off
both
then.
have injury
I'll back
history,
off.
so it's
That-
it's
that-
Not
kind
saying
of
he can't be better because
Okay.
I like
That's
Breece
fair.
Hall too.
I'll back off in that case, but to me, I think it's it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. I like the Ryans hire. I think we all like the Ryans hire and the
So
fit.
it seems like a great fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Frank Reich, Panthers, like, all right, cool. We'll see what
I
happens.
mean,
Like,
you love when a guy goes back and coaches the team he played for. So
yeah.
And you kind of feel like the Texans have become the Browns of 6-7 years ago, where it's like we're kind of tired of seeing them being one of the worst teams in the NFL year in
I'm
year
over
out.
it. I'm over it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I will say the
Give us
worst,
the Patriots.
worst job.
the Cardinals.
Cardinals. That job sucks.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. All right, we'll see you guys next time on the Daily Stripe. We'll have Vernon Davis as a guest.
Yes, we
Former 49er, very exciting stuff. Fisher, Desopoulos, Snacks, Kreider, repping Calidad Beer. Daily Stripe, February 2nd, 2023.